Turn this over to Mr. Ganel Montran, who is the president of the Cape Verdean American Media Association General Assembly. And all due respect, Mr. Montran.
Thank you. Dear Brockton mayoral candidates, dear council at large candidates, dear city councilor candidates, dear members of the Cape Verdean American Media Association, dear Cape Verdean American community leaders and activists, dear Cape Verdean American business owners, dear representatives of Cape Verdean American civic and sports organizations, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Boa tarde, bem-vindo ao Consulado Geral de Cabo Verde. I would like to welcome you all to today's forum. Vital issues for the Cape Verdean American community, taking place here and now in this community room at the Cape Verdean General Consulate. I am sure it is going to be a rewarding experience for all. Our deepest appreciation goes to the Cape Verdean Consul, Pedro Graciano de Carvalho, for making it possible for us to host today's forum here at the Cape Verdean General Consulate. We are really grateful to the candidates who were able to find a slot in their very busy agendas to be here and now with us in this forum, to briefly introduce themselves and take this opportunity to demonstrate how they will be defending the interests of the Cape Verdean population residing in Brockton if they were elected. This is extremely meaningful to us. At this time, I would like to ask all of you to join me in applauding all the candidates running for mayor. All of the candidates running for council at large. And all candidates running for city councilors. With just 9 days left before Brockton's preliminary election, this is the time and the moment for the candidates in attendance to demonstrate some of their leadership capacities, answer pertinent questions asked by the members in the audience, who will also express their real concerns to all candidates participating in the primary election in Brockton on September 17th. Let us keep in mind that this is a forum, not a debate. Candidates will answer questions directly from the audience, but will not directly engage with each other. The organizing committee members, Dr. Júlio de Carvalho, please stand up to be recognized. Member of the Cape Verdean American Media Association, CVAMA. Adriano Cabral, also member of the Cape Verdean American Media Association, CVAMA. And myself, Agnello A. Montran, President of the General Assembly of Cape Verdean American Media Association, CVAMA, has worked tirelessly to put this forum together. Pedro Chantry, who was also working with us in this committee, made a great contribution to our teamwork, but he made a very wise and ethical decision to leave the committee to work as advisor of a mayoral candidate and a council at large candidate. Please allow me to make it clear that the organizing committee does not politically support nor advise any candidate. We are equidistant, all of them, and we are determined to provide equal treatment to all of them. Our purpose is simply to contribute and facilitate the potential voters to learn more about the candidates, gather information pertaining to each candidate's specific action plan, to resolve the vital issues pertaining to the Cape Verdean American community. Any divergence from this organizing committee policy by an individual member of the organizing committee is his solely responsibility, and the organizing committee publicly states that it repels such transgression. Without any further ado, let me share with you CVIAMA bylaws preamble. The Cape Verdean American Media Association, CVIAMA, is a non-profit, non-partisan, and secular social organization whose mission is to collectively promote and support a sustainable system of information pertaining to the global Cape Verdean community. In order to achieve its mission, CVAMA will exhort the delivery of relevant, comprehensive, and accurate information to the public. It will foster high morale while abiding by the code of journalistic ethics. CVAMA will represent the Cape Verdean media in the United States and will empower its members by providing ongoing professional development opportunities. This forum is open to the public. We invited all mayoral and council candidates, Cape Verdean business owners, Cape Verdean American community leaders and activists, members of the media, professionals, scholars, and representatives of Cape Verdean American civic and sports organizations. The main goal of today's event is to address issues important to the Brockton's Cape Verdean population, foster and facilitate communication among members of the Brockton Cape Verdean American community and the candidates in attendance running for office in Brockton. The forum will focus on vital issues of the Cape Verdean American community, most importantly on education, youth, and family. Through our pedagogical approach in this forum, we will contribute to educate and inform the voters in an effort to empower them so that they will be able to cast their votes in a conscious and well-informed manner. With the preliminary election just 9 days away, I strongly encourage each one of you to actively participate in this forum, and we look forward to hearing the candidates addressing the vital issues of the Cape Verdean American community, being that decisions made in Brockton have a huge impact on the quality of life of the Cape Verdean American community and obviously of the entire population of the City of Champions. I am confident that you have pondered about the issues and concerns that are important to you and to your community in the upcoming elections, and you are prepared to ask questions and listen very carefully to the candidates' reactions. Members of the Brockton Cape Verdean American community, the fastest growing minority group in the City of Champions, are diligent people who are growing demographically, intellectually, and they have been helping to boost the economy in Brockton. The number of businesses owned and operated by the Cape Verdean Americans in Brockton speak by itself. Cape Verdean Americans are a role model in home ownership. Cape Verdean American landlords are committed to make improvements to their estates in an effort to make them look nice, both in the interior and in the exterior, which has been a tremendous contribution to help beautify the City of Champions. Cape Verdean Americans can do more and better in order to influence the local decision makers with regards to social, economical, educational, and political matters. Let us hope that together we'll make Brockton a true City of Champions, a city that nurtures and values diversity, a city that reflects the makeup of its residents at every level of the administration in the municipality of Brockton. Let us hope that we will instill in Brockton a climate of awareness and tolerance to cultural differences. Let us hope that we'll make Brockton a city where there is no room for corruption, where there is no room for nepotism, where there is no room for friends first and others second. A city with equal opportunities for all, not only for the boys and girls of the club, thus lessening the gap between the rich and the power. Let us hope that we'll make Brockton a city of peace, love, and unity, free of illegal gun, drug, with zero gun violence. Let us hope that the Cape Verde demographic power in Brockton will be balanced to its corresponding political power. Let us be proactive than reactive. Thank Thank you all. Obrigado. God bless Brockton, Cape Verde's 11th island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I would like to have Mr. Adriano Cabral, who is also a member of the CVAMA. Thank you.
As Guilherme mostrou, my name again is Adriano. I am a resident of Brockton. I work in Brockton with the families of Brockton and a member of CVAMA. I thank you all for coming, for taking the opportunity, time away from your families. And I'm sure this is the time where your schedules are so very busy to be here, so we respectfully thank you for taking that opportunity. So we're here, the idea to organize this forum is to come here and share concerns and views and vision. As Montron said, Brockton is increasingly a city of diversity. So we think that with contributions of everybody living in Brockton, that's the only way that the problems and issues in Brockton can be addressed properly, concerned all the residents of Brockton. One of the things, so our forum focuses on youth, family, and businesses. One of the things that we did, I myself personally and some of the residents of Brockton, we went around the Brockton area to ask some questions to the residents. What are some of their concerns? What are some of the issues that they have, maybe have some ideas? And those issues were related to things that pertain to some of the decisions that the city officials will have to make. Licensing, hours of operation, taxing, street lighting, security, customer service with the city hall, parking, street sign, some of the things that usually the business have some concerns. And they openly express their concerns. And it seems that majority of the business that we contacted, they spoke about licensing seemed to be the problem. And they also pointed the inspection, business construction, and some of those problems relate to the fact that when they, because of the language, these are a community very entrepreneurial. They want to build businesses. They want to create jobs. And if you look at the main street, we all know it's increasingly coming more and more small businesses, which is an opportunity for jobs for the young folks. But they face some challenges that they would like to be resolved. So that's one of the issues that we would like to hear from the candidates for the city official. What will be an approach to resolve some of those issues? The other concern that I also asked a question about has to do with the security. The security, most of the small businesses seems to have this concern, security. We don't feel comfortable in the neighborhood. And again, about the security, we know that there is 9 deaths in Brockton since January 2013. So that, according to the Price News, so that is a concern to all of us. We know that some of the young folks of Cape Verdean community are also involved in those issues, but they pertain to Brockton. And so we want to come as a resident and as a members of the community who supposedly, and I think I can say surely, we understand the culture and understand some of the issues. For example, myself, I work in the community and I work with the family, so I'm listening all the time to the concerns that they have. So in discussing what will be the best approach to resolve those issues of Brockton. For example, an approach that, for example, take into consideration some of the challenges that the families have would be something that we will appreciate. For example, let me give you an example. My daughter attends Brockton High School, and sometimes she misses school, and so there is, I think Brockton High School made a huge effort to make this collective call to the parents saying, hey, your child didn't show up at school today. So just so that you know, which I think is great, but yet there was a message that was in Portuguese, supposed to be in Portuguese, and when I listened to the message, it's no Portuguese. Nobody could understand it. And I said, okay, I wonder maybe somebody will fix it. Guess what? It passed for more than a year, that same message. That struck me because I would think Brockton High School has teachers who speak Portuguese, and I'm sure there is administrators, because there is ESL class who speaks Portuguese. Why wouldn't you connect some of those people and say, hey, can you check this Portuguese and see if the message is getting to the parents? That's one example. Another example, for example, at one point, it was last year, sometimes there is this parent-teacher conference that they call, I receive emails. Sometimes I do a lot of those meetings, but I know most of the time when I go, I don't see a lot of the parents. But one day, they sent the message in Creole. I don't know, I think it's José who made the message, José Andrade. Are you here, José? Mr. José. Mr. José took the effort to pass the message in Portuguese. At least it's your voice that I recognize. Guess what? There was a lot of people showing up to the meetings. So those are small things, apparently, but make a huge difference. So those are some of the examples of approaches that we would love the city officials of Brockton to take into consideration when they relate to Caribbean community. And I just, before I close, because I know we're limited in time, I wanted to also speak about the families of Caribbean community. Immigrant community is an asset, not a liability. Immigrant community, we bring culture, we bring a different culture. For example, let me give a brief about the immigration of Cape Verde. Cape Verde has immigrated to the United States since the 18th century. Okay, so some of you might know. So that means we still have people coming from Cape Verde. That means that some people is fourth generation of immigrants, doesn't even know the culture of Cape Verde, but they still share the pride of calling themselves, I'm Cape Verdean. And Brockton is one of, if not the one, where the culture is, there is the most recent immigrants. And because of that, a lot of people of Cape Verde from other areas like Cape Cod, New Bedford, they come to Brockton to share the culture, to share the taste, to share the entertainment, música morna, cachupa, all of those things that their parents and great-grandparents talk about, they come to Brockton to share those things. That's an opportunity. That is a touristic attraction to Brockton. So we should take that into consideration for the development of Brockton. So those are some of the messages that I would like to pass to you, and also would like to hear some of the approaches that you probably have tried or have a vision to try to see how this can proceed. The other thing that I also want you guys to consider is the types of lives that immigrant families bring to when they immigrate. Immigration has a lot of traumatic experiences. When parents leave the country, they leave their kids behind. They separate with their children. There is this trauma of separation early in life. And when they come, all they do is work. Sometimes they work more than they should, but that's the goal. That's where they came from. They create wealth probably and bring those families, but that comes with a cost to it. The kids who were raised back home, they come here, sometimes you bring your kids, sometimes you bring your parents. You have 3 generations in the same home that probably don't understand each other very well, don't share the same culture, and obviously there will be consequences that comes out of that. I understand it's still the parents' responsibility, it's still the community responsibility, but obviously this is a vulnerability that those parents have to survive. Again, those parents want to provide the best for their kids. They want the best education. They don't want their kids to drop out of high school. They don't want the kids to be out in the street. So if there is an approach, if the city understands those issues and approach the community, how can I help you? Or find a way that less intimidating to the parents and don't feel threatened when they look for service, or even educated. I take that role a lot to educate the parents to access services and opportunities. I think it will lessen the stresses that the families go through and probably more effective when they try to take care of the kids, because we know our kids get involved in not so good things that happen in Brockton, like crimes, delinquency and stuff. Those are the unfortunate things that happens, but not that this is the culture or not that this is. I'm not going to talk longer because I know Dr. Marisa will talk more about the youth, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much for coming again. I hope that we come out of this forum with a sense that there is work to be continued and we will need to continue to discuss about these issues for the better of lives of Brocktonians. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Mr. Cavallo. You touched on some very valid issues
you.
that face the Cape Verdean communities. And let me just say this. I been to Brockton back in the 70s when you had literally probably like maybe 4 or 5 houses of Cape Verdean families. And then there was a gap there. I didn't go back to Brockton until probably 2003, 2004. And was I pleasantly surprised. Brockton with the numbers of Cape Verdeans and Cape Verdeans doing well. So with that said, thank you. Made some great points, and I'm sure the candidates will be more than happy to address them.
Julie, so in our program we don't show that, but I would like to let you know that the Cape Verdean Consulate is represented here by the coordinator for community culture and communication. Gunga Tavares is there. Gunga, we'd like to welcome you.
Thank you. And now to touch on the education portion concerns that the Cape Verdean community has in Brockton, we will have Julie Di Carvalho address you with that. Thank you.
Hi, I am Julio Di Carvalho. I'm an educator, actually. When I walked in, the first thing I asked was if we have anyone here running for the school committee. I realized we have nobody here running for the school committee. So therefore, I'm going to change my speech because I want to be practical. This event was supposed to take place last night, but it did not because we were having a huge discussion because Cape Verdean soccer team was supposed to be playing against Tunisia for World Cup qualifying, and we won 2-0 in Tunisia. If Brockton was paralyzed yesterday afternoon, that was the reason. And then at nighttime, I attended the Ambassador's Fatima's Vegas Farewell's party. I saw many of you there. Thank you so very much for being there to honor a great Cape Verdean citizen. And some of you might not, for one or other reason, you were not there, you were not invited, or you were not aware. We still want to thank you for your continued support to our community. Interestingly, I have done a study. Actually, my doctoral degree is in educational leadership. I did a socio-anthropological studies on Cape Verdean in northeastern part, especially Brockton. And to this date, even the Cape Verdean government cannot tell you specifically the number of Cape Verdeans we have in Brockton or Boston or any place. And it was so intriguing to me. We had an American political individual stating that he represents a community with the largest Cape Verdean constituents. And actually, I didn't know where he got his data, but that certainly does not reflect what I'm aware of myself. It is real, the issue with Cape Verdean community. All the issues that we are facing, the Cape Verdean community we are facing, it's actually, we need to own them. It's our responsibility to begin by fixing our communities. But in order for us to fix our communities, we also need your support. Cape Verdeans, you in Brockton, you know the number of you have an idea the number of Cape Verdeans you have there, despite the fact that most of us, we do not vote. It's because we lack education. We need to educate Cape Verdean peoples in terms of voting. And the same way, we need to ask the city officials, those of you, especially if you get elected, to support us, because we need to be participating. We need to change the status quo. Again, I have asked Cape Verdean officials, Cape Verdean leaders to do so. Many of them have done so. As you could see, this is an indication that we want to change. It seems to me that we are going to change. Personally, I honestly believe that in Brockton we need more pro-Cape Verdeans candidates or officials, and we need more pro-Cape Verdean school committee people, director, people in the leadership position, because we do have a tremendous impact in Brockton, and we intend to capitalize our community this time. That's why you can see here, to move forward with that. I was asked to talk about education, but since I see there is no school committee individual here, despite the fact when they approve their budgets, they're going to have to send it to city councilor and eventually for you to look at it, I have decided to be pragmatic, to be asking you direct question I would like you to consider. My first question would be to check your policy and practice in terms of reaching out to Cape Verdean and other minority parents. By simply sending a note in Spanish, Portuguese, or Cape Verdean, that will not do it. The reason is because some of them do not know how to read, even in the Cape Verdean language. And especially when you put that stamp, say, find someone to translate it for you. No one has time for that. Second, check how intimidating school system can be sometimes. Exactly because of the lack of school officials' understanding of cultural pluralism, or because of our culture. We believe that school officials, they are like another parents, then we respect what they say, despite the time we know often people are not fair in their judgment. I'm an educator. I work for public school and colleges. I wanted you to check the ratio of minority administrators you have throughout Brockton Public Schools, and the opportunity for advancement and promotion. I wanted you to check the hiring practice and ask yourself if you have hired who you have, the people you have hired in the last 2 to 4 years. I hold several academic degrees, including doctoral degree in educational leadership. I am fluent in 7 different languages. I'm 48, been teaching since I was 20 in 4 different countries. I applied for a housemaster position in Brockton High School. I'm a Cape Verdean. I teach people, I teach doctoral studies. I teach people, I'm a coordinator for practicum for school. And I was not considered to receive a letter to acknowledge me. I am Cape Verdean. I speak the language. You don't have to pay anyone to translate for you. So my point is, once you're able to understand our concerns through the question I have just presented to you, then you might be able to resolve the issues affecting Cape Verdean. But we Cape Verdeans, especially myself and all of us, we are aware that we need to do more. We have been too passive. We are sitting there and expecting the Superman to come. But it is time for us to be proactive, for us to talk with you, and I personally, in the name of this committee and the Cape Verdean Consulate and all Cape Verdeans, would like to thank you for taking the time to come here. Because, again, in addition to being part of the Seveyama and the system in the United States, I also am a part of national political party in Cape Verde. And in Cape Verde now we're trying to persuade Cape Verdeans to participate actively in politics in the United States. It will benefit us here, Because in the United States, as I have said in the past, if you don't vote, you don't count. Cape Verdeans need to wake up, and that's what we are doing. And we're going to push them. Because I did not get a job in Brockton, I moved to Lowell. I reside in Lowell, but I still have, I come to church in Brockton, I socialize in Brockton, so I live outside, but I'm an insider. Lowell, actually, the city manager of Lowell lives outside of Lowell, in Chelmsford. So you see, so what I want you to do is to commit yourself to work with us, honestly, for us to improve the city of Brockton and all residents of that great city. I'm going to leave it this way because I don't want to take too long because it's extremely hot, even me being on Cape Verde.
Thank you, Dr. DiCavallo. As you can see, you have your work cut out for you, candidates. It's going to be tough. If you think it's hot here today, wait until the election day comes. You're really going to be hot then. But anyway, with that said, this afternoon we're also joined by Marisa Gonzalez, who is a postdoctoral fellow and staff clinician at the South Shore Mental Health. She will be addressing, I believe, the youth and family issues that we have. So please welcome Marisa Gonzalez.
Thank you very much. I will specifically be focusing more on the issue of violence that we all know has been a huge highlight here in the Brockton area, but not even so much Brockton, but also Boston. So for me, I've been in school for a while, but I've also been born and raised in Brockton. I am a proud Brocktonian. My parents came here during the late 60s, early 70s. We were one of the few Cape Verdean families that lived here at the time. Since I left Brockton High and I went to Boston College and I went and did my master's and my doctorate, unfortunately, I would come back and always be noticing the influx of violence in my city. And it never set well with me because of Brockton. We were never the type of community that represented itself in that way, the city of champions. And also as a Cape Verdean, I know that doesn't reflect the history of who we are as Cape Verdeans. It never has. And unfortunately, at this point, it's stereotyped as us being people that are somewhat violent. So for my doctoral dissertation, I decided to concentrate on looking at resilience among Cape Verdean men. I, like other Cape Verdeans, were pretty sick and tired of looking at the idea that Cape Verdeans were violent people, but yet there were no type of research to substantiate the amount of violent folks that were supposedly here in Brockton or Boston. As a matter of fact, the research in Boston does show that Cape Verdean males that are involved in the justice system are 1 to 3% only. And then when it came to Boston, there was nothing, Brockton, there's nothing to show. But for me, knowing that there are so many Cape Verdean men in general, Cape Verdean youth that have done work, that represent who we are as a culture, it was important for me to go out there and actually do a study to show who we are as a people. What does resilience mean? And these are the questions that I had. How do they define resilience? What promoted resilience among Cape Verdean men? And also, how have they displayed resilience over the years? And what we've come to find out, what I came to find out at looking at 11 Cape Verdean males from age 20 to 40, 7 of which were born here in Brockton, 4 from Boston, Massachusetts, in the Roxbury, Dorchester area. What we came to find out is that they define resilience in terms of non-perpetration of violence. The fact that they were brought up in homes, not homes, but community, that it was, there was private, prevalence of violence, that they didn't get sucked into that type of behavior. Also, positive adaptation or advancement in the face of adversity. The idea that they were able to succeed in terms of mentally, in terms of withstanding the trauma they faced, or just seeing the everyday struggles of the community. Also, that they were able to succeed educationally. All of these folks that participated in my study were bachelor degree recipients. A lot of them were also, of the 11, about 4 or 5 were master's degree recipients, and 2 of them were in college. and this is what their norm was, so they were able to succeed. In terms of displays of resilience, this is basically, the displays of resilience pretty much complemented how they thought resilience should be. They withstood what was considered a traumatic experience for them to kind of see some violence in the community. And also they were very successful. And their successes pretty much represented what they can do for their family. And so I call that a collective advancement, in the sense that they knew that as Cape Verdean male, to do well in the city, to do well for themselves, also meant that their families did well, that they can pretty much provide financially. It means that they could come back and actually give back to the city. Believe it or not, all of the people that I studied were folks that actually were teachers, they're lawyers or wanted to be lawyers. There are people that actually are concerned with the community. And they're not just themselves in a microcosm, there are actually people that represent other folks as well. I just happen to study them. Promoters of resilience, I'll just pretty much go through it. What I found that promoted resilience among these Cape Verdean men was effective decision making, something as simple as, when we decide where to go today, I'm not going to go to that party, because that means that there could be certain kind of people there. I'm not going to go to that location in particular. The everyday decision making that they had to do. Peer choices, participation activities, just being involved in boys and girls clubs, all these communities and type of programs that we've been shown and proven over and over through research works. This is nothing new, we're not reinventing the wheel. Goal setting, engagement in informal education. That meant that they simply just empower themselves through reading, documentaries, movies, anything that pretty much validated their feelings and also empowered them as men, as black men, as Cape Verdean men. Also, giving back, being able to be in college, and they were presidents of associations. They would come back and do whatever they could to feel like they are still identifying with the community. They were still giving back to the community that actually helped mold them who they were, that helped them mold them into who they wanted to be. Also, they had this sense of agency called, and I called it proving wrong. The idea that a lot of their experiences in the city, they consistently talked about the idea that they had to prove wrong some of the teachers, some of the people that didn't expect much of them. So that was huge, the idea of proving wrong, a sense of agency. And these factors I just talked about were very important in the sense that I call them also strategies of resistance. These are not strategies that kind of came in from the outside. I found that it was internally driven. These were men that actually proactively had a big part in promoting their own resilience. Huge. That was actually a prominent part of it. And so, with everything that I have that I talked about in terms of how they defined resilience and were promoted it and how they displayed it, I have some recommendations that I made. So, and the recommendations pretty much overlap what Adriano and Mr. Carvalho had also talked about, Dr. Carvalho. And so, in terms of recommendations, a lot concentrate on school and community programs. We talk a lot of, I mean, the reality is the youth spend a huge portion of their lives in the schools. That's the reality. They see their teachers more than their parents. So what are we going to do at the school level? And what are we going to do in terms of the community? What kind of programs are we going to implement? We know what's going on. We know the research. Everybody here is very well educated. What are we going to do besides talking? How are we actually going to fund these programs? Like I said, I'm not reinventing the wheel. What I did differently is that I finally decided to do some research and get something to actually show something among Cape Verdeans. But what I found has been shown amongst Latinos, has been shown amongst African Americans, West Indians. I didn't do anything substantial in terms of finding novel information, but I broke grounds in terms of the Cape Verdeans. And I had to do it because I know that that's what we need, research, to be able to get funding. So are you willing to take something like this and get funding from it? Are you willing to listen to us and actually get funding for it? Also, in terms of, we had mentioned before, how are we going to reach out to parents? Parents are an important aspect of facilitating their adaptation. And they are not sometimes knowledgeable on some of the everyday stressors and that we encounter here in the United States. If our parents weren't born here, they do not understand what it's like to actually be in a situation where you go to school here. I'm a first generation Cape Verdean American. My parents, one of them was more educated than the other, but you still need a certain type of cultural knowledge to be able to navigate the system. How are you gonna educate the parents besides sending voicemails that clearly sometimes don't reach parents? Also, in terms of conducting research, at the end of the day, I think that you don't need necessarily a doctoral degree to be able to create change. The reason I got a doctoral degree is to be able to come and be heard. Because once you have a degree, you're an expert. But the reality is we have very well-developed, smart, very well-accomplished leaders all throughout the community that have a lot to say, a lot to be heard of, a lot to address, a lot of ideas in terms of how we can change our community, and they need to be heard. Can you do any type of informal poll or research study that you can go out there and actually see what we can do as a community to maybe address some of these issues? Knock on doors. Can you appoint anybody in the city to be able to do grassroots type of work, the type of stuff that actually works? You know, because research is great for grants, however, at the same time, what are we going to do besides saying this in theory, but actually making it work in real life? So that's a little bit of what I have here. I think that overall, a lot of our concerns overlap. As you can see, a lot of the concerns are all interrelated. And so if you can do anything at all to address some of these issues.
Thank you, Eddie. We appreciate that. It's quite informative what you talked about today, and I'm sure the parents that are here and fellow parents that are here probably sympathize with our community in general. These are things that we face every day, and only when there's a saying that only when it's in your skin that you feel it. And I appreciate what you brought to us today. We're going to move on to the position and statement by each candidate. And with the amount of candidates we have, I think we're probably going to curtail to maybe 2 minutes, but we're not going to hold you for the 2 minutes. Let's say we'll give you the Cape Verdean 2 minutes. And we all know what that means, okay? So when you will state, of course, introduce yourself, your position, and your statement. I know you've heard quite a few things here today. And after that, we will follow with other question and answer from the general audience. Yes, okay? So we are going to, does anyone have a preference as to where they would like to start?
I'm a retired business owner, and I understand small business and industry is the heart of any successful community. I believe the major problem in Brockton is public safety. I believe it's number one. We should have more police on the street. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of hard work. But I believe that we have to put more police on the street. Not just police, but we have to have the police department reflect the city. We need Cape Verde relations on the police department to reach out to the kids and to the people so we can gain their trust. We can do this, and then we can go and get industry and bring them into Brockton. Because we have a great workforce. I've talked to many businessmen who hire Cape Verdeans, and they're very impressed with work ethics and their family values. So I believe if we do this first, we get the city safe, we can make this a thriving community, and I believe we should bring in the Small Business Administration to help Cape Verdeans and others be able to open businesses in the city. So I believe, and also I believe we should lower taxes, especially on the commercial side, because our taxes are way too high. And if we do this, then we can bring businesses into the city, and especially manufacturing, which is the high-paying jobs, and I believe that we have a great workforce, and we have good transportation, we have available water and sewer, so we have a great many things to offer businesses. And And once we get the businesses in here, and then we just provide jobs for our youth, and for everybody, not just Cape Verdeans, but everybody. And I think this would make us a thriving community, and I see a great future for the city of Brockton. Thank you.